First of all, we got the video running here now. We'll hit our timer, and then okay, 3, 2, 1. Come on, hang on a second. Come on, start recording.
Good evening, and welcome to the Collector's Edition foil cover, embossed cover, poly bag with collector's trading card, first edition of Thursday Comics.
Woohoo! Issue number
1.
Issue number 1 indeed. We had a 0 issue and
it's all downhill from here now.
yeah, we splashed our armor, we enjoyed it. You know, we took our clothes off, although that didn't show up on camera for some reason.
We edited that apart, actually.
Yeah, kind of had to.
So, how are you tonight?
Oh, not too bad. And yourself there, Dennis?
Doing good.
It's for those who don't know, we're way out here on the edge of North America, and it's pouring rain out here tonight. Dennis got drenched himself. I got drenched earlier today, but we're high and dry and...
Right. Picked up my new books. I double bagged everything.
Yeah.
The worst thing is rain with a comic book.
Exactly. Even worse than forest fires.
That's right.
Yes, rain, unquenchable. So what's on our schedule for tonight? What are we going to do?
Well, first off, we're going to announce that you actually uploaded everything to a podcast now.
Yeah.
So we're uploaded to Buzzsprout.
Yeah, that's going to be the first of many, hopefully, platforms.
Right. Which is good news. Now you can still follow us on Facebook.
Yeah.
That'll bring you the link there. And you can also go to YouTube.
Yeah. For the visual part of it.
For the visual part of it as well. So, and it's the exact same thing.
Only you can see us.
Right. So we're just going to do a quick introduction, which what we did. Quickly go through the format. We'll just do a review of last week's episode, any positive, negative. We're going to go to our main topic. We're going to talk about upcoming solicits that you will talk about this week. We're going to go from the vault. We're going to talk about a book from one of our bookshelves.
Yeah.
And talk about that series in case there's nothing solicited that you're interested in. Then we're going to do Deep Thoughts with Wallace Ryan.
Yes.
Which tend to be from reviews we've had from the first episode. Was everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
And then we'll just close it out and go on our merry way.
And let it rock and roll from there.
So reviews on the first episode. Even though it was slow starting, because we didn't have the podcast part, we just had it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Was positive.
Oh, okay.
So, which is good. I was reading a couple of comments on Facebook that we had, a couple of friends that messaged me, and through YouTube, a couple of comments on that, and people seem to enjoy it. A lot of it was crossover from the Library of Graphic Literature.
Yeah, I expected
so you got it, which we expected and we wanted actually.
Yeah.
So that was good to see.
Thanks for coming aboard, folks.
So thank you. Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah. yes. Yeah. Also, that's right too. I forgot to mention that. Subscribe to the Thursday Comics video YouTube channel, so you can watch us as we're making this.
Yeah.
Which I think is a cool thing. People being able to watch two newcomers to the podcast game basically scrape and claw their way to the top.
Basically screwing it up as we go.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's how that works.
Because we're only human.
Yeah, that's it. And we talked about, if it gets a little bit bigger and we get more followers, we might do little prizes and giveaways and freebies for the people that are the regulars that you see commenting on posts a lot. And, try to give them a little freebie every now and then if you find it worth our while.
I think that'd be kind of cool.
Which would be kind of nice to see. So
yeah.
And it's a chance to make some stuff for us too.
Yeah. So, exactly. Right.
So that's last week's episode. Main topic for the show, which we actually kind of were debating up until we just started this.
Oh yeah.
And it just came out of nowhere. So the main topic is simply, I'm a Marvel, I'm a DC, but the main theme of that will be the omnibus collecting.
Yeah.
Because Wallace and I actually became really good friends through the collecting of the omnibus.
Yeah.
Marvel and DC do things totally different. So we're just going to kind of break that down a little bit.
Yeah.
So, my view, personally, is I find Marvel, same with their comic solicits.
Now, first of all, hang on a second. Before you go into that, would you say you started out as a Marvel person or a DC person?
I started out as a Marvel.
Okay.
Now, the reason I did, and I can quickly explain this, is when I started collecting comics in the early 90s, you had the big boom of comic books.
Yeah.
Which was X-Men and was Spider-Man, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee.
Yeah.
Then you had this big influx of cartoon series. Now, you did have Spider-Man 94 series,
Yeah.
you did have the X-Men animated series, and where they owned Toy Biz, you had this big influx of toys.
Oh, did
So
you
you
ever?
had the most popular comic books, you had the most popular toys, you had the most popular cartoon series.
Yeah, okay.
Now, DC, on the other hand, they did have Batman.
Yeah.
And they had the movies, but Marvel was pumping out everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
By the time you were getting Superman and Batman, Marvel was pumping out X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
Hulk,
Yeah.
Iron Man, and all toy lines galore.
Yeah.
So they flooded the market.
They did.
And I always said, my collection and my love of comics is based around marketing blitz. I am the perfect product of mass marketing.
I never thought about it that way.
It's prime. And you think about,
you don't look like a mass market.
Right. But you look at everything in like the long term, and you're like, they pretty much determined what I was going to read.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, yeah. Because I was selling the same product that you speak of, so that I do have a connection with your origin story, you might say there.
That's
right?
true. Now DC Comics, they did have. No one really read DC for the most part. Like my age growing up.
Yeah, it was always older people for Sandman and
Sandman. But until you had Death of Superman and Nightfall.
Yeah.
That was the two little blips.
Yeah, yeah. That's out of that. When I had my comic book store, you're right. That's exactly it. They were the two blips because Marvel was pounding the crap out of us, right?
And X-Men in particular. I mean, X-Men. I'm looking at old Wizard magazines had 7 of the 10 top comics were X-Men titles.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll tell you how big, and people don't realize how big X-Men was in the 90s.
Oh,
X-Men
humongous.
Carried the comic industry since late 70s to maybe mid 2000s.
Yeah, and Marvel in particular.
Yeah. Spider-Man was their flagship character, but X-Men was the seller.
Yeah, for sure. I can remember selling far more X-Men at the time than that. Well, with myself, I started out as a DC person myself, and that was like in '64 when I was 3 years old, and they just happened to be the comics lying around.
Right.
So it was Green Lantern and Atom, both funny enough Gil Kane stories, and that's where I started drawing too. I started drawing from those comics, and actually they were what taught me how to read, because by the time I got grade to kindergarten 2 years later, I could read and write, and that was all from comics. So
I know Marvel did a really smart thing, which I talked about with a friend recently. Scholastic book fairs you used to have in school.
Yeah.
Marvel would put out all ages kids books, a little short story novels.
Oh, okay.
And little drawings on every other page, very kid friendly. But the two that I bought were the Giant Size X-Men retelling.
Yeah.
And the Weapon X origin.
Oh,
and you read that as a kid, and you're like, this is great. But it's basically about a guy who gets kidnapped and brainwashed by the government and becomes a giant killing machine.
Yeah, tortured and hot metal injected into him, yeah.
And, my little 7-year-old self was buying that at Scholastic Book Fair. So when you look at it that way, you're like, they put anything they could possibly put out to kids.
Yeah. And it's funny because now you got DC doing stuff like the DC Inc. Directly looking at the young girls audience, and which I like, I do like, right? But no, it's interesting now. Now in terms of DC and Marvel, you're going to want to talk about their omnibus approach, their publishing approach, shall we say?
Right. So I find Marvel, same with their comics lists, they just flood the market.
Yeah, do they ever?
I mean, upcoming solicits going into January of next year, they're putting out, I mean, personally for me, and I don't buy every Marvel omnibus, there's 3, sometimes 4 a month.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they hit $100, $125, $150 Canadian.
Yeah.
So if you're getting one of those a week, that's a big investment.
Yeah, huge, yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
But there's apparently a market for it.
Oh, yeah.
And
yes.
they're putting out their classics. You're starting to see they're doing Conan, and they're doing stuff for different markets. So they're putting out Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
The little niche stuff, The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. They're putting out Conan.
The Marvel Horror.
Yeah. And then a couple more that we're going to talk about later. But then they're also putting out, every time a Deadpool run ends, You're getting a complete Daniel Way or a complete Joe Kelly collection
Yes, I've seen those. Yeah.
in omnibus. You're getting Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Uh,
the newer one.
the newer
one.
Right?
Okay,
Now,
I thought
both
you
of them are out. The original Miss Marvel, they reprinted because of the movie. But then the Kamala Khan, that's already an omnibus.
Yeah.
I mean, that series is only a couple of years old.
Yeah.
But they deemed it worthy for a complete, oversized omnibus collection.
Now, do you think that they like DC? Because DC sometimes will give a lot of undeserving series a trade paperback collection that really should never have been put in it. Because I can't think about that with Marvel. Do you find that with Marvel?
They started doing that with the Marvel Now.
Yes.
And like that era.
Yeah.
Right after, like around mid 2000s, they started just pumping out paperbacks of everything.
Yeah.
And that's when they started the relaunching of the titles.
Yeah.
And I find that really frustrating. I had a friend of mine, and he picked up Superior Foes, not Superior Foes, Superior Spider-Man, and he picked it up, and inside it recommended the first volume of Superior Spider-Man. But he didn't know because this one was volume 1, so he figured it was volume 1. And I'd explained, no, it's volume 2. It's series 2, volume 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just confused the living hell out of him.
Yeah.
To the point that he's not buying Superior Spider-Man anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's too confusing.
Yeah, it's just like you think Marvel would sort of tune into that,
Yeah.
in terms of because I've noticed that a few times with their titles. You're right on there, right? I look at it as just like, okay, which this looks cool, but which series is it?
Which one is it? We don't know.
But you imagine, well, Spider-Gwen, looking at that, I mean, how many number ones does that thing have,
Maybe
right?
3, 4.
Yeah, so
and that's not a recent, like an older title. That's a recent title.
Yeah.
I mean, Captain America right now is at volume 9, maybe volume 10.
Well, you know how people have been complaining about these facsimile editions coming out and stuff like that, and do you find that with Marvel now that they're putting out, because it seems from what you're explaining, a lot of the stuff that they are putting in the omnibus form sounds like some of their best, putting their best feet forward.
Yeah.
And it's, do you think it's a bit of a comment on some of the regular stuff being done at the fact that some of the older stuff is doing better than some of the newer stuff?
Well, I think it was, well, not necessarily Marvel, but Dan DiDio came out. And
that's it, yeah.
I think the facsimile editions sell better than most of regular comics.
Yeah.
And that'll tell you the current state of the current market of comics.
Well, people are dying for good comics, I think.
Good comics.
Yeah.
And they know a series is going to get canceled. They're not hooking readers long term anymore.
No.
Because there's canceling and relaunching titles.
Yeah.
As opposed to new creative team, they'd rather cancel it and start with a new number 1 and a new creative team.
Yeah. And I mean, back in my day, it just kept on going, right?
And that just makes the previous volume redundant.
Yeah.
And they don't even really mention it, and they just ignore it, and they start the new stories.
Yeah. And as Jason once mentioned to me, Jason Conway from Downtown Comics, sometimes it leaves him with, as he called them, stranded series that really aren't going anywhere anymore. Well, like when they came with the when the new 52 was dumped. Yeah. He got saddled with a lot of new 52 stuff, which is no longer canon, or it's not part of the rebirth, right?
Well, that's when I stopped buying a lot of my DC. My very first comic I was buying monthly with my own money was Robin. Robin came out around 92, 93.
Yeah.
So I would have been about 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I've started following from the beginning, and it lasted 180, 190 issues.
Yeah.
So I followed it from 18 to mid-20s.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they canceled it, and then they changed it, and none of it really ever happened.
Yeah.
He was only Robin for a couple of years.
Yeah. It drives you insane, doesn't it?
And it feels like, well, I just wasted so many years of reading stories that you're just going to... You basically just ignored my childhood.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
That didn't exist.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
So...
Now, with DC, I mean, they've been... I think they've been doing good on the omnibus front, and same thing, actually, now that I think about it, they're harvesting a lot of their older, finer material.
Right.
The House of Secrets and the House of Mystery. I mean, there's some early 70s comics. I mean, why don't they do The Witching now? Or there's a lot of other great stuff there, with especially a lot of early art by a lot of people who went on to be big later on in the game. And But yeah, I mean, I've been pleased. We were talking about this as we were setting up, and you know, rumors of them ditching the omnibus line. Which, if they do, by the way, DC, we're going to be very, very angry at you. And but I mean, overall, I guess I'm sort of more or less pleased with at least the omnibus program if it stays, which it better stays as it is.
Right.
I mean, I was very saddened when they dropped the whole DC Archives line. I mean, I love that line. Cheap, small books, but very inexpensive and all that.
And essential comics.
Yeah.
Like essential library building comic books that you would need. So.
Yeah, exactly. No. I mean, I feel kind of weird now with the with the DC Archives all over there, right?
It's a dead brand.
Yeah.
At that point, so I mean, what do you do then? Do you upgrade your omnibus? And but think of it like music. If you have a giant vinyl collection, and then did you scrap it and go to cassettes, and then did you scrap it and go to CDs, and then did you scrap it and go digital, and then did you just start buying vinyl again?
Yeah. Well, so. Exactly. I kind of stuck at CDs, but yeah, for I mean, DC, I think they're not putting them out. There was a bit of a push there about a year or two ago, and a lot seemed to be coming out, but they've really slowed down. And but I mean, myself, and there are a lot of collectors out there. You know, the people who are buying all these books, who they all got three shelves full of the omnibuses as they look now, and God help you if you screw around and change that. People were upset enough when they had to change the peeling back logo for the plain new DC logo. Right. I mean, that ticked off a lot of people.
Messed up the spines.
Yeah.
And OCD and everyone.
Yeah. So if you turn around and then cancel the whole damn thing, people will be frothing at their mouths, right? Frothy, literally, right?
I find.
I'll get an envelope full of froth and I'll send it to DC, right?
I find one thing DC is doing well is they kind of figure out their market.
Yeah.
With omnibus, because a lot of young people are not going to go buying the omnibus. It's people, adults, with disposable income.
Yes.
Usually buying their childhood comics.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it comes down to.
That's what it does to me. You're right there, right?
You look at now. I started off buying my childhood ones with X-Men and the Spider-Man, and now I've had such a big collection. I started going back to the '60s and the '70s and the essential Marvel stuff now. So my collection is basically a giant Marvel collection. But most people who want to buy them are going to go buy the comic books they grew up with because they want a complete collection of it.
Yeah.
And we talked about the price. A new reader of the comic books is not going to buy $150 omnibus.
No,
they're not.
No.
You can get them on a newer volume of something or cheaper collections, but omnibus are for a dedicated fan base.
Yeah.
And DC has picked up on that.
Yeah.
Now they're pissing off the dedicated fan base by
Are they ever?
scrapping the Bronze Age and the Silver Age and the Golden Age.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden your Batman Golden Age Volume 6 is now just going to be Batman Volume 6.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, and to me it's just like, why take out, people in comics love the labels, the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, makes it easy to classify right off the bat, and why not, right?
Even though there's no real definite start and end date of those. They kind of just figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
But if you figure it out yourself, go from there.
Yeah. Now, I guess we could move on to solicits, because we're tooting along here, but you and I were both discussing the solicit situation, and we both thought that it was a pretty poor outing, the latest round of solicits from DC and Marvel. I mean, we both found a few from each of them, but pretty piss poor, wasn't it? Right?
Pretty bare bones. There's nothing really. It's almost like they're saving it for the big summer pull or something like that. But there's just a slow solicitations recently that came out.
Yeah.
There's nothing really.
No. Well, I mean, from Marvel now and these are ones that I know both of us are going to be into anyway. There's the king size Ditko one. I love those big king size books from Marvel, and of course the Adventure into Fear omnibus, which we were both discussing, and it does include some of the Morbius stories, which is strange considering, as you brought up, the Morbius omnibus that's coming out too. So now this will have a lot of the early. This has actually a lot of reprints, a lot of previously printed stuff from the 50s because they're reprinting the reprints in it too. Which I thought, okay, you know, fine, why not, right? And there was one Marvel Masterworks which one I can't remember for the life of me. Was it a Spidey or was it an Avengers? Anyway, you know, not too bad. But from DC, the only thing that I could see from the immediate solicits anyway was the Gotham by Gaslight Absolute Edition.
Yeah.
And which about time they did release that one in the hardcover, because they hadn't. And then you messaged me the other night with the good news that they resolicited the Legion of Superheroes 5 years later.
Yeah, and they actually added more content. It was supposed to be the first, I think, maybe 8 issues or something, or 12.
Yeah.
And they expanded it to the first 24 and additional content. So they kind of listened to the fan base of them cancelling books.
Yeah.
And they gave you a bigger, more expensive, more complete omnibus.
Yeah. Now I can put up with it if they come back with a better product like that, and
which is fine.
You know, fine. But I mean,
now if they cancel this one,
there'll be armed mobs outside the Burbank studios, right? And what was it? The Justice Society International 2 is being
Justice League International Volume 2.
Yeah. Being announced.
Yeah. So that's the continuation of that, which is the Kev McGuire, DeMatteis run. Mm-hmm. And I think later on in that, Adam Hughes takes over, some early Adam Hughes work.
Yeah.
He takes over as the artist on it. But that entire run, the humor era of Justice League, I loved it.
Yeah, me too.
One of my favorite eras.
Yeah. I can remember even buying actually I bought it just up the street here at a drugstore, and I can remember buying that issue and reading it and thinking, not bad. I kind of like the it was great, just a good piece of satire, right?
And it's a big gamble, so
yeah,
props to them.
And it won.
And that's basically it. We normally talk about that more, but it's not.
Yeah, the I can't think of any, but yeah, it was, like I say, pretty poor showing in terms of solicits. Now we're still waiting on Dark Horse and everyone else, but you know, if the rest of them follow its suit, it's going to be a pretty boring. What are these for? February, I guess. Yeah, they are, aren't they?
So.
It's going to be. I mean, February's desperate enough, right?
But I can see they probably don't want to solicit a lot of books because people are paying off credit card debt after Christmas.
Yeah, that's true too.
So it's a slow time for every business. So they're probably just putting out one or two, and they go from there. So
that could. I can see from that point.
From business aspect, so.
The only other thing I can think of, well, there's. Oh yeah, as you let me know, the Mutant World book collection is shipping. So
they were on track to basically ship in December, hopefully.
Yeah.
So hopefully in a couple of weeks, which you're a big fan of, Richard Corbin.
Oh yes, love the Corb.
And again, a Kickstarter thing. We're huge fans of Kickstarter, so.
Yeah. So I guess I can wind up with a bit of a rampage. Just thinking of some deep thoughts here.
Right.
Well, we discussed a lot of it lately to ourselves. Was our displeasure with DC fucking people over, right?
Pretty much.
And especially with the Hex one, and the one that still does anger me more than anyone is still the Aquaman one. I was so looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Because they only put out one goddamn volume in the DC archives, and when I seen that, I was just like, oh, thank God, right?
And if you're building a library collection or a comic book collection, you want at least one volume of Batman, one Superman, one Aquaman, one Green Lantern, one Wonder Woman.
Yeah, a nice smattering of each, right? Type of thing, right?
So just to represent everyone.
Yeah.
And that's how you start a good collection. You have a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And
and DC, you're making it hard. You're making it hard to do that, right? And to go back to the Legion Superheroes 5 years later, if you cancel that again, I'm gonna have a fucking stroke, right? That'll be the end of me. Dennis is gonna come into the studio here and find me slumped over, right?
But I find it funny that DC will cancel Aquaman Volume 1 Omnibus, and Marvel will pump out Marvel Universe by Rob Liefeld.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll put out and that Marvel 90s, which is issue 1
Oh.
every 90s comic they put out.
Yeah.
They'll put out anything.
Yeah.
To sell.
Yeah. Yeah. That's...
And DC can't even put up their most well-known characters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm still pissed off about that friggin' Beyond Batman. Book set still to this day, and I will be continue to be pissed off, by the way, over that. Right?
And they cancelled the Shazam too at the same time, didn't they?
Yes.
Cancel that one as well.
Yeah, and the Monster Society one. That was another one that really pissed me off, because it was just like, I don't care if if there's some representations that are no longer politically correct. It's just like, why deny? Because you're denying your own history when you don't put this stuff out and say, oh, because some people might be offended about it. Screw that, right? Let's see the truth, right?
But when was the last time Marvel cancelled a book?
God, I can't remember. I really can't remember off the top
not
of my
a
head.
solicited, large format omnibus with some fanfare.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And I can see some lesser known titles getting scrapped.
yeah,
Because they solicit the paperback before the issues are done, but 6-issue series gets cut down to a 4, and they just say screw it.
Well, all I got to say to DC is stop putting out like smaller, soft covers of crappy material, and stick to putting out some good, solid, bigger collections.
That paperback market, and people rave about it, but one bad thing is they solicit everything.
Yeah.
And
not
everything should be collected. Not everything is good.
There's some stuff you should avoid collecting because you're just traumatizing the reading public all over again,
and
right?
you're filling up shelves.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say garbage because creators do work hard.
Yeah.
But you're filling it.
But it is garbage. Some of it is garbage.
Everything just blurs together.
Exactly. It's doing a disservice to the stuff that is very good, right? I think, right? Stick to the best, right?
So.
Well, I guess that's it for another week here of Thursday Comics.
We'll do a quick one. So.
And this was actually recorded on a Thursday, right?
Actually on a Thursday. It'll be published on a Thursday.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I'll have this up and loaded and running before the end of the evening. Yeah. And I guess that's it, and we'll see.
That's it. We'll work out a schedule, and we'll start issue 2.
Yeah.
So issue 2s normally have variant covers, so we'll have a variant cover edition of this one, I suppose.
Now, if you have any comments, questions, or whatever, post them to our Facebook page. We will answer questions online.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten any.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Haven't gotten any good ones yet, but hopefully we will.
Yeah. So like I said, check us out on YouTube.
Yeah.
Check us out on Buzzsprout.
Yeah.
Check us out on Facebook.
Yeah.
If you want to check out Wallace's other.
Yes.
The Library of Graphic Literature. Check that on YouTube. Check that out on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Leave comments anywhere, positive, negative. We don't care. We'll say how you said we were wonderful people. We'll comment on how you think we're absolute pricks. We don't give a shit.
Exactly. Oh yes, and buy issue 3 of Nobody Is in Control from Black Mass that my friend Paul Tucker illustrated and I lettered for him. And other than that, that's Boom Bash shit. We're all done and finished.
All
okay.
Right. Say goodnight, Wallace.
Okay, good night there, Wallace. Thanks for having me over. Okay, now let's just ease out. I love that music, don't you? Okay, now let's hit this thing here. Off you go.